It pains me very much to have to speak frankly to you, Lady Bracknell, about your nephew. But the fact is, I do not approve at all of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful. I fear there can be no possible doubt about the matter. This afternoon, during my temporary absence in London, on an important matter of romance, he obtained admission to my home by means of the false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name, he drank, I've just been informed by my butler, an entire pint bottle of my Perrier-Jouet. Brut. 89. Wine I was specially reserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in alienating the affection of my only ward. He subsequently stayed to tea and devoured every single muffin. And what makes his deception all the more heartless is he knew perfectly well that I do not have a brother, I never had a brother, and I do not intend to have a brother, not of any kind. The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde, 1895. This is one of the funniest plays of all time. It still holds up really well. It's still really, really funny. Just mocking aristocracy. And actually, just probably it's best said by, there's a review I found, I think it was in the London Times actually, in 1895. And this review said, "It is of nonsense all compact, and better nonsense I think our stage has not seen." Because the play's about absolutely nothing. It was really popular at the time. It got panned a little bit by people because there was a lot of very serious, weighty plays with social meaning. And this not only just kind of subtle, like mocks it, it kind of just ignores any purpose at all. The whole play is almost entirely a 2-hour play leading up to a pun. It's great. It's super funny. Oscar Wilde, also one of the most famous playwrights of all time, brilliantly funny. This play is actually the one that ended up leading to the public finding out about his homosexuality, and effectively killing his career in multiple ways. So that the era of the time, this is 1880s, 1890s. This is Victorian England, and these people are members of the sort of posh aristocracy. I wrote next to the character, which I'll talk about in a second, RP. RP stands for received pronunciation. It's basically just like the formal upper class British. These characters are specifically designed to mock that, so you can even go way above and beyond on making silly choices. Let's talk about the character then for a second, just to clarify that. Jack is the name of this character. He also goes by Earnest. Earnest is his fictional brother. He pretends that he's got this brother that he can just... It's just a crazy guy that lives in the city. Jack lives in the country. This scene is near the beginning of the third act. Jack is, I believe in the play he says he's 29. But this is also a really common play in colleges, so you could easily do this one in the 20s. Probably could do this monologue up until the 40s. It's great. It's timeless. Let's see. It's so farcical. This play is a total farce. Under the guise of being this serious play. I think the actual subtitle is a trivial play for serious people. So he should be very composed. His language should be sharp, very crisp. But he's saying nothing. And knowing what happens in the play contextually before this can let you fill this with some more meaning. Because he's not really too pained to tell this to Lady Bracknell. It's also a phrase that he uses multiple times throughout the play, um, because what's happening here is I have Jack. He's talking to a Lady Bracknell, as it says in the beginning, who is the Lady Bracknell needs Jack's approval to let Algernon, his friend, marry Gwendolyn. Or excuse me, marry Cecily. Jack needs Lady Bracknell's approval to marry Gwendolyn. So Lady Bracknell has just given Jack the approval, but he's refusing at this moment to give the approval for Algernon to marry Cecily, and revealing to her the fiction of that he doesn't actually have a brother. So in this monologue, fortunately, since it is the whole play is somewhat nonsensical, there's not a bunch of super deep analysis you need to know besides that. I mean, once you read the play, it'll be evident exactly what's going on here. Oscar Wilde couldn't be any clearer and write it any better. So knowing that basic structure of him needing Lady Bracknell's approval, Lady Bracknell needing his approval, and Jack and Algernon sort of feuding just before this, it lets you, as the actor, make choices on where to focus and what to stress with what emotions. You want to choose moments. Obviously, at the beginning, he's addressing Lady Bracknell, but this monologue is hyper cynical. So you want to find moments where you pick a point and you use that as your point of reference for Algernon, and it's your call how you want to balance when you're telling the story to Lady Bracknell, when you're throwing shade directly at Algernon, and when you're talking to Lady Bracknell, but your tone and your connotation of your voice is supposed to clearly just be heard by Algernon. You get to choose that. I also went with the chalkboard today because it's a classical piece instead of the whiteboard. So hopefully it's not too tough to read. I am noticing it's a little tougher on the focus for this video, but you win some, you lose some. Alliteration. So what's really funny, what's really great about Oscar Wilde is his mastery of language. Looking at the text right here. Note possible doubt about the matter. A lot of sharp T's right there and a double ow diphthong sound, so you can really kind of play that up. I try to make those very clear and distinct. Doubt about the matter. Later on, as soon as he talks about the wine, the next part, continuing his disgraceful deception, so you get a nice double D sound there. He succeeded in the course, a lot of hard C's and S's. Afternoon in alienating the affections. So you've got three straight, pretty long words that all are somewhat alliterative. He subsequently stayed to tea. Subsequently stayed to tea. Really, really, the sharper that is, the more impressive that's going to be to an auditioner or to a casting agent or director, I should say. At the very end, is great when he's talking about his brother. That's a clear triplet of escalating importance. So we obviously want to end almost all monologues on a really strong high note, and you get three choices there. I have no brother, I never had a brother, and I do not intend to have a brother. So those should each be, an escalation upwards, and it'll add just a really nice ending structure. Accent is vital for this one. This monologue should probably never be done not with a formal, posh British accent. The language just works with it. You got to practice it for it. I mean, there's a lot of great comedic farcical roles that this monologue would be good for. Definitely, obviously, any Oscar Wilde play, this is a great monologue to choose. Any farce, this is a pretty good monologue to choose. not as funny as some of the other monologues that I might touch on later from this play, or if you read the play, you might discover on your own. But it's really sharp and demonstrates comedic timing when the jokes aren't just jokes on their own. You know, it's not like the famous "a handbag" moment from the '50s movie version of this that Lady Bracknell says, but there is humor in there. I try to make a joke line out of, and it is a joke line, but a strong, clear joke line for the purposes of an audition that I might not do in the show, with the entire pint bottle of my Perrier-Jouet Brut 89. Another three escalation right there. So where I try to everyone who studies comedy should know the rule of three. Like at the end, this here's the rule of three, and I think right here, Perrier-Jouet, he's just finishing the sentence. Brut, starting to feel like, oh, that was that really nice Brut, and 89 is like that was the vintage that I loved. So the more you can build that and sell that up, you can make just those four words into three choices, and a pretty funny joke line. In conclusion, really, this monologue is just like the play. It's got an appearance of decorum with just utter tomfoolery as the content. So check this one out. It's in the public domain right now, so you can just Google this play and find the whole text of it. I might even include a link. Yeah, I'll include a purchase link if you want, but I'll also try to include a link to an actual full text online. There's also, I think, a full version on YouTube of the 1980s TV movie, as well as a bunch of clips from the Hugh Grant adaptation. I mean, this is one of the most produced plays out there. So it's always good to have one or two monologues or knowledge of plays that just form a fundamental understanding of how we know theater of specific eras. And this is one of the best period pieces for that Victorian British. Yeah, so let me know in the comments if you have other monologues that you want to see done. If you have comments on this one, if you think the British accent was good, bad. It's something that everyone's got to work on, because there's a lot of great roles that you can do with it. Thanks so much for watching.